from the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast.
Coming up today on Ag Day, from threats to nix a major trade deal to now working on terms to renegotiate. Why the murky trade waters have some farm groups on edge. Striking new trade agreements with China is something the rice industry thinks could provide a big boost.
14-day period, they could eat the entire U.S. crop.
In agribusiness, why drawing a direct line from the U.S. dollar index to commodity prices isn't so clear anymore.
Look at who your competitors are rather than a very narrow-based index.
And a country music star teams up with Bayer to salute the American farmer while giving back to those in need.
It's been an amazing ride, and I think it's morphed into a really special tribute to our farmers.
To get a backstage look at Bryan's farm tour.
Ag Day, presented by the Chevy Silverado. High-strength steel for high-strength dependability.
Good Monday morning. I'm Tyne Morgan in for Clinton Griffiths. The president continuing on his mission to rework current trade deals. And now the United States' 7th largest export market is on board. In early September, the administration threatening to walk away from the U.S.-Korea trade pact. But now South Korea's trade ministry saying it plans to start the necessary process for amendment to a deal only 5 years old. The U.S. partially blaming South Korea for an increasing trade deficit at home, calling it a job killer. Creighton University economist Ernie Goss says the administration's threat to pull out of trade deals that are good for ag is a worry for him.
The South Korean trade pact's not that old. And when I travel a good bit, and there was a lot of excitement, say, among Iowa pork producers. They were excited, and well, they should be, of the exports to South Korea, and we saw that. We're now seeing, of course, beef sales hopefully increasing to China.
There's been some talk about the trade agreement with South Korea, and I really hope that we continue to stress the importance of free global trade, because as far as corn producers are concerned and soybean producers are concerned, the international markets are very important for us, and I hope to see the free trade agreements that we've got on the books stay on the books, and that we can expand that.
The U.S. nor South Korea releasing any details yet on how the 5-year-old trade pact may be amended. Meanwhile, National Wheat Growers Association urging the administration to quit spending time on renegotiating current deals. Instead, wanting the nation's leaders to focus on ways to bolster trade through new agreements. NAG CEO saying, quote, USTR has limited resources. It's time to get past plowing the same fields and start opening ground in new markets, end quote. Well, the rice industry also working to set the stage for new markets, with leaders closely watching whether an export opportunity to China can become a reality. Rice producers say while business at home is booming, it's an international appetite they'd like to see grow.
Most of the rice from California is consumed domestically, and then about 25% is shipped to Japan.
The rice industry says they're lockstep with the rest of agriculture on current trade deals like NAFTA, urging the administration to do no harm in agriculture's slice of the trade pacts. But an even bigger buyer would be the world's most populous country.
You know, China is a monster of a market. The facts are, based on the consumption rates of rice in China, the short version is in a 14-day period, they could eat the entire U.S. crop. So it's an unreal market.
Well, there's no doubt that China needs rice. Over the last 10 years have gone to being a competitor of the U.S. and others on the export stage to being the world's largest importer of rice.
The administration paving the path this year, signing an agreement in July to start exporting rice to China for the first time ever, a deal more than a decade in the works.
One of the things that was unique about this phytosanitary agreement is it's the first time the United States government has ever allowed a foreign government to send inspectors to the United States to review and inspect potential facilities, individual companies.
U.S. rice industry calling it a win, but the reality is little progress has been made since that signing.
Taking 11 years to get the first step behind us and being able to see how many steps we have out in front of us is a little disconcerting.
Ag Secretary Sonny Perdue recently setting an aggressive timeline, saying the first shipment of U.S. rice could hit within the next 3 months.
If they move forward in any kind of a timely fashion, we could see that happen. My most realistic estimate would be to say that I'm confident that we'll see some rice from the 2017 crop be exported from the United States to China.
Meanwhile, rice harvest is underway in the U.S. We'll get a fresh crop progress update Tuesday since the USDA is closed for the Columbus Day holiday. Last week, rice harvest was 77% complete. That's 6 points ahead of the 5-year average. Now, California has the most left to cut. It was only a fifth of the way done. Growers say they got a late start to the year due to heavy moisture this spring and winter. The dairy herd continues to grow, and some analysts believe it will be a constant weight on milk prices. USDA rolling out its September Class 3 milk price this week at $16.36 per hundred. It's down more than 20 cents from the August price and 3 cents lower than last year. So far, the Class 3 price has averaged $16.12 this year. Now, some analysts say it's challenging to see a price rally, and a bump could have to come from the demand sector.
We're stuck in this sideways range, much like the grain markets, much like a lot of commodities in the last couple of years. We're stuck in price patterns. From a producer's perspective, rallies into that $17 area, $18, that's probably all we're going to come by. We're hopeful that demand can push it there, but when it does get there, it takes some defensive posturing.
Doherty says the dollar is trading near 2-year lows, which could spur increased exports. Well, Mike Hoffman's starting our week off right with a look across farm country. He has today's crop comments. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning, Tyne. Kylie Schramm sent us this picture to our Facebook page from St. Clair, Michigan. They've been harvesting beans for a little more than a week now. She says it's been dry there, though. Soybeans are running between 10 and 11% moisture. This field yielded in the low 40s, which is about average for that field. And West Virginia rancher Ben Wilfong sent us this photo of one tuckered out little helper. They live in Merlington, West Virginia. He snapped a picture of his son Lane, age 4, adding that farming is tough stuff. They run a couple hundred head of cattle across several thousand acres. And taking a look at the estimated rain over the past week, you can see Florida and many parts of the plains ended up with some decent rains. We'll talk more about the forecast coming up. But first, here are some hometown temps.
Save time each day and receive the latest market prices directly to your cell phone with market updates. It makes it effortless to stay aware of shifting market prices. Just text Markets 8 to 31313 to get started.
It's more than just a growing dairy herd across the country. It's also a protein sector that's growing. So how could that impact prices? That's agribusiness. And if you're in the market for a skid loader, well, you'll want to hear what Machinery Pete has to say this week.
Stay tuned, folks. Coming up, we are going to talk about used skid steers.
And later, raising up hard-working farmers on a national stage. We're tagging along with Luke Bryan for his annual farm tour.
Ag Day, brought to you by the Enlist Weed Control System. More weed control, less drift and volatility, maximum yield potential.
Well, welcome back to Ag Day. Craig Van Dyke and Chris Norarian to talk about these markets. Let's start off with the livestock. We continue to see this protein sector grow. I mean, you look at the hogs and pigs report, you look at the cattle on feed report. We just have a lot of livestock on our hands right now, Craig.
We do, and we've got decent demand. And you look at corn prices are low right now, so you see demand for feeders here. You look at the spread in the fat cattle market, with back month fats holding up at this 120 level, near the recent contract highs. You see demand for the feeder market. So, the livestock market, we've been fortunate enough to have a current enough cattle market. We've been fortunate enough to see during the summertime solid demand, strong demand in the bellies. And I think more recently here, you're seeing hogs actually hit new contract highs here out in the summer months, late spring months. So the demand market is really what we're watching. We know where we stand on the supply side. Where the packers' needs are is starting to get a little fuzzy versus hogs, being a little oversupplied, but new plants coming online. And the cattle market right now does seem to be current and yards are pretty full.
With those new plants coming online, though, we have a lot more processed product on the pork side of things. Is there a home for that product?
We've seen Mexico be a big buyer of pork, and we've got very cheap pork prices right now. So foreign demand is going to be the home run if we're going to really boost the market.
Yeah, and plan and export's favor is seeing this weakening U.S. dollar. But, you know, even last year when we had a stronger U.S. dollar, exports were still pretty impressive. So, you know, today, can you make that connection that a weaker dollar means better exports, or, you know, are we seeing that impressive growth anyway?
Well, the connection is there, but the problem with looking at a dollar index, for example, it's a very narrow focus, right? There's only 6 currencies around the world, and most of them, and the Aussie dollar, the Canadian dollar are part of it, and that certainly would, you know, can compete against U.S. beef exports. But some of the others, you have to look at specific competitors like the Brazilian real or the Argentine peso. You know, look at who your competitors are rather than a very narrow-based index. So there is a correlation for sure, but it's finding the right correlation and the right things to look at.
Okay, so anything else that we should be watching on the U.S. dollar side? I mean, do you think it'll continue to weaken real quick?
You know, I think in the foreseeable future it will. Obviously, people are waiting for a rate hike at the end of the year, and that will add some pressure to it.
All right, thank you both. I appreciate it. Stay with us. We have a much more Ag Day when we come back.
For a special report on the grain markets, call toll-free at 877-TT-HEDGE. That's 877-884-3343. GA Capital provides M&A, capital raising, and general corporate finance advisory services to companies in and around agribusiness. To speak with GA Capital, call Chris at 901-472-1353. Ag Day weather, brought to you by Kawasaki and the new Mule Pro FXR side-by-side. Ride like a boss with high-end styling and rugged capability.
Welcome back. Well, meteorologist Mike Hoffman with us on this Monday morning. Mike, you know, we're ending the show. I got a behind-the-scenes look at the Luke Bryan farm tour. One of the stops was Illinois Friday night. They had to move locations to the Illinois State Fairgrounds because the farm field they planned to be at got flooded. It looks like some of the other areas got quite a bit of rain on this map,
yeah, especially
too.
northern plains and some of the central plains, all dependent on exactly where you live, of course. Now that rain Tyne's talking about happened just before this week-long period that we're showing on this map. This is a week ago Saturday through this past Friday, and you can see the heavier amounts of rain have been across Minnesota into Nebraska and also parts of New Mexico into northern Texas. Parts of Florida ended up with some decent amounts, especially the eastern sections as well, and you can see a spot there near Tulsa, it looks like, in Oklahoma had some pretty heavy rain. So it depended on, in some cases, like exactly where the pockets of heavier rain moved and also the thunderstorms moved. But you can kind of superimpose that wet areas right there, and it could have used a little more in the drought areas to the northwest of it and also across the central plains into the southern Mississippi Valley. There are some areas that have been drying out over the past few weeks. Now, we still have a trough in the west and a ridge in the east. The computer models occasionally have been trying to dig a trough into the east, but it is not coming at this point. There's Wednesday, a weak little trough just kind of moving through the top edge of the ridge, and then the ridge just builds right back up. So basically, it stays hot in the southeast southern plains, but farther north you will get some cooling occasionally, but nothing real chilly. There's Friday. The trough is still out west, and it's kind of a cutoff trough, so it's going to stay there a while, and the ridge holds into next week the way it looks. Mainly from the Mississippi Valley eastward. And take a look at precipitation this coming week. I'm going to go above normal from the southeast up along the eastern seaboard. A lot of that is from the remnants of Nate, but some of that is a secondary system coming in. Below normal for the plains into the southwest, above normal for the Pacific Northwest. Temperatures this week below normal in the trough area in the west and the northern portions of the Rockies, above normal for most of the east of the Mississippi Valley anyway. And take a look at the 30-day outlook for temperatures, more above normal. Mississippi Valley eastward, below normal for the interior sections of central and northern Rockies. And a 30-day outlook for precipitation from northeast Texas into the northeast. I'm going below normal, above normal for the central and northern plains. That's a look across the country. Now let's take a look at some local forecasts. We head to Bakersfield, California. First of all, lots of sunshine to start the week and warm, high of 87. It'll be hot in Waco, Texas with a good deal of sunshine, high of 95. In Burlington, Vermont, cloudy with some light rain, high of 75 degrees.
When Ag Day returns, Machinery Pete will join us with a look at equipment trends. And this isn't just a concert, it's a benefit for American farmers. I hit the road with Luke Bryan today on In the Country.
Machinery Pete is brought to you by John Deere. Where can you find the most comprehensive inventory of John Deere certified pre-owned tractors, combines, and sprayers? Machinefinder.com. Sometimes the best new addition to your fleet isn't new.
Machinery Pete is constantly keeping his eye on what's happening in the machinery market, but catching his eye this week are skid steers.
Trying to identify trends in the used farm equipment market, of course, it's helpful to look backwards at the data, compare what prices were then to now. But lately I've got a new data set that's also helping me identify trends, and this is search traffic data to our MachineryPete.com website. Now this week, let's look at skid steers. Now we've got over 3,600 used skid steers listed for sale at MachineryPete.com. And if we compare search traffic data in the just completed third quarter versus the second quarter of 2017, we saw a big 23.5% increase in the number of searches to skid steers. So more people shopping. It's even more pronounced if we look back a year ago. Third quarter 2017 versus 16, we saw a 57.7% increase. Now I've also been seeing real strong, solid auction sale prices on skid steers throughout the year. Now, so far this year, the highest auction price I've seen on any skid steer was this one, a 2012 Bobcat T870 with 492 hours on it, sold on a consignment auction July 27th in eastern Alberta, Canada, sold by Ritchie Brothers. And when converted to US dollars, it went for $57,571. Now the highest auction price I've seen so far this year on a farm auction, well, that'd be this one, a 2013 John Deere 333E, 670 hours on it, sold March 16th, 2017, farm sale in east central Nebraska, went for $48,500.
Still to come, one of country music's most popular stars is toasting the American farmer on a national stage while giving back to those in need. We sat down with Luke Bryan next.
In the Country, sponsored by Kubota. Tractors, hay tools, utility vehicles, mowers, and more. Visit Kubota.com today.
Well, after the tragedy in Las Vegas last week, acts of kindness can help heal a nation hurting. That's what's taking place across farm fields across the country this year. Now, each year, one Nashville star gets back to his rural roots and gives back to farmers with the help of Bayer. Country music superstar Luke Bryan blew onto the music scene more than a decade ago, but exploded in popularity in 2011 when he released his hit song, Country Girl, Shake It For Me. Country girl, shake it for me, girl, shake it. 6 years later, he's still winning over fans' hearts.
Why are you out here? Because I love Luke Bryan, and my birthday's tomorrow, so I really want to see him.
Each fall, fans flood farm fields across the Midwest to get a glimpse of Luke Bryan in action.
Let's hear it for Luke!
Fort Wayne, Indiana was just one of 6 stops on the annual Luke Bryan Farm Tour this year, using a national stage to toast to farmers.
I grew up taking soil samples with my dad, scouting cotton in the summer.
With farming in his blood, Bryan came up with the idea for the farm tour nearly a decade ago.
Through the years, through our partnership with Bayer, we've gotten really crafty in, going from scholarships to saluting the American farmer.
I think that our ranchers and our farmers in this country are a really underappreciated bunch. I don't think a lot of consumers really understand how that really yummy chicken and steak and corn and beans that they're eating, they don't know how it gets to their table. This is one opportunity through the Here's to the Farmer campaign to really help consumers understand and appreciate the producers that put all that food on their tables.
Talk about an uphill battle, 2,000 acres of beans and cattle.
It's recognizing the challenges of farming that Bryan is highlighting on a national stage.
Here's to the farmer that plants the fields in the spring.
Building off his Here's to the Farmer single released in 2016, Bryan and Bayer are using the power of social media to give back with the hashtag Here's to the Farmer.
We're partnering with Feeding America, and every time somebody uses the hashtag, we donate a meal. Last year, we reached 500,000 meals donated to Feeding America, and this year we're upping the goal and going for 1 million meals.
A goal Bayer hopes to reach this year with the help of one of country music's biggest stars.
It's been an amazing ride, and I think it's morphed into a really special tribute to our farmers.
And as the sun sets on another farm tour, it's Luke Bryan's passion for people bringing the country music community together to toast the hands that provide the most.
Here's to the farmer.
So neat. Our thanks to Luke and the folks at Bayer for allowing us to tag along. And don't forget, share the hashtag Here's to the Farmer to show your gratitude for America's hardworking farmers. In return, Bayer will donate a meal to someone in need. That's all the time we have this Monday morning. We're so glad you tuned in. For all of us at Ag Day, I'm Tyne Morgan. Have a great day in farm country.
Ag Day, brought to you by Ram Commercial, America's longest lasting heavy duty pickups.